Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hello, and welcome to episode 159 of Mythos Busters. I am Sean. I come to you today a little bit on the tail end of COVID, so please, if you hear anything weird going on with me, that's what it is, and I'll mute as I can, I promise. Joining me tonight is the full crew. We've got Justin. How are you, Justin?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well, Sean. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank you. Yeah, it's one of those things where I keep like telling people like, yeah, I'm on the upswing, I'm doing fine, and then like I'll get to the end of the day and just be kind of like still dead. Like I want to be a lot better than I actually am, but
I believe in you.
Baby steps, I guess. Joining us tonight as well is Scott. Hey, Scott.
Hello.
What's going on with you?
I'm doing really well. The smaller members of my family are not doing as well. They're
Oh no.
quite ill, so I may have to disappear halfway through this episode. We'll see how everything fares. My partner's upstairs dealing with it, but here's hoping. Fingers crossed, because
'Tis
wow,
the
what an
season
episode.
for contagion.
Oh my
La la
goodness.
la 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 la.
I mean, children are germ factories. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like
yeah,
it's
true.
and they just pass everything else to each other, and they lick their hands and stick their fingers in each other's mouths, and just, oh my god. Anyways,
Yep.
I'm doing
Before
well,
the age of 7, they are just like nurgles.
though. Oh,
Straight up
Nurgles.
nurgles.
You speak to my heart.
Joining us as well, of course, is Ian. Hey, Ian.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. I'm glad to be recording with you all. And
I know. Like, the monthly just, like, makes it so special, right?
yeah, I know. It really does make it a true event now.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Well, as alluded to in the prior episode, we've got a lot to get to tonight. We took a break, and Arkham was like, haha, fuck you, though. So
This is where we pop off. Pop, pop, pop.
This is where it happens. This is where the magic happens. We're going to shave off everything that's not needed tonight. We've got a jam-packed episode nonetheless. We're going to get through the FAQ, and then we're going to get caught up on all of the news that came out. And then we'll see how we're all feeling, but we might run it out with some technical time. But before we get to any of that, just a quick note here. We sent a message out to all of our patrons, but we've had a few hop on in the meantime, and possibly not everyone sees all the emails. So certainly those things slip under my radar from time to time. But just a quick update to what our change in format really means for patrons. Long and short is that it's not going to mean much. Ultimately, at the end of the day, as we kind of mentioned on the last episode, we're changing our format up, but we're always going to have one episode per month that goes out to patrons, and then we are going to have a second creation post that will ultimately be the collection of everything else that we did this month or that month, and then that will go out to patrons as well. So we charge for 2 creations on a pretty even clip. I don't know if we missed one for a very long time. And that will be hopefully the case going forward, just 2 per month. And if it's anything else, it will be less. So, Boys, anything to add? Justin, did I hit all the points?
You hit all the points. As soon as we are able to actually switch over to a monthly model, which Patreon won't let us do at the moment, as soon as we can, we will. So we're trying to keep it consistent in the meantime, but that is, at some indeterminate point, our plan.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's already been 2 streams this month.
Too true. Let's get caught up. And I
Yeah.
suppose every time we record an episode, we'll round up what else we've done since the last time we recorded. So we've managed to fit in a couple of Twitch streams so far. I started a new campaign. We're doing a solo playthrough of the Dream Eaters 8-part interconnected campaign. We're calling the series Playing Alone Together. That's the thing I'm going to be doing. Justin joined me for the first one, where I was taking a spicy experimental Duke deck that I made through the web side, and it was a good game. It was very, very tight. It was a scathing, harrowing experience. I had never played that side true solo before. Because Scott, when of course that was 2-player anyway, but we just did Dream Side with our speed run, right?
Yeah, it was just Dreamside, which is generally the easier one. I
Truly.
think. Yeah.
That first scenario asks a lot of you.
Oh my goodness. On Spider side, oh, yeah.
But yeah, let me tell you about this deck real quick. We're not getting
yeah.
deep into it, but like this was the deck that I was alluding to before, where I found a deck that I think actually makes Ceremonial Sickle and Divining Rod work like I want them to. So it is a Ashcan Pete deck, classic Ashcan Pete, because I made this before the parallel came out, just FYI. And the whole idea is that you're using his ability not only to ready Duke occasionally, but often, sometimes to ready the purple weapons, hand slot things. It makes Sickle a workable weapon when you actually need to kill something. So, it's got that going for it.
Yeah, I think it's a very functional, very good deck. Especially solo, like you have multiple ways to move and get clues and attack and all that stuff. Like between those Mystic assets and Duke, like I think it's good. And I've always thought that Ashcan Pete, like, I know he has the Dunwich Splash, but I would love him as a 0-5 Survivor, 0-2 Mystic. With that 4 willpower, it's just...
He would pop.
It's tempting. Yeah.
He would pop. Yeah. Anyway, so that was a harrowing game. And then, Scott, you joined me for episode 2, which was my Green Goblin Jack. Going down the Dream Side. So basically, it's not too far from the speedrun version of Jack that I brought to the 2-player game that you and I did. But obviously, it's geared for solo. So, yeah, that was a good game, too.
It was. That one, I think, needs a little bit more damage output than we thought. Because we talked about the deck beforehand. I was like, no, I think you're good for enemies. And then afterwards, we're like, oh, maybe we need to kill things.
It turns out there was a fair bit of meat to chew through. Some of those Zoogs are really mean in solo.
I think you also got a lot of your enemy management cards late.
True.
Like I just think that, the draws were just against you, I think. On average, in general kind of thing. But
yeah. So anyway, those streams were really fun. Those are both out on our Twitch channel and on YouTube, so check out that series. And I'm hoping to get another one in sometime next week, so we'll keep on keeping on with that campaign. Ian, I don't want to put you on the spot, but on the stream, people were asking if possibly it's in the realm of feasibility that we might see Abandoned and Alone again.
I do have plans to resurrect it. I will say it may not be in the exact same form, but I'm definitely going to continue the series. I actually did record like an initial episode of a new campaign, but this was like a year ago at this point, I think, and then just got put on ice for a while. But I think I'm going to start over fresh. But yeah, I think folks can expect to see it back very soon.
Yeah, well, all right. Quick aside, just because it came up. What is the oldest campaign you guys have picked up after letting it cool? I don't know that I have I don't know that it goes past like 2 months. If it's sat for 2 months, like I'm always raring to just like start a new one.
Yeah, that might even be too long for me. Like I think my expiration date is like a few weeks maybe.
And this is, my 2 months goes back to the days of monthly releases. So it'd be like, that campaign that I started when Pack 3 came out.
I think because of...
You whippersnappers will never know.
Because of the way I play campaigns, like if I start a campaign, I'm going to play 2 or 3 scenarios in the first session, if you will. I'm usually done campaigns in 2 weeks. And so, Yeah, I think 2 months is probably about right. That's probably the oldest. Like, there might have been something that was like 2.5 to 3 months, but I mean, that was years ago. Like you said, Sean, that where even that, wow, I don't think, no, I don't think it's past 2 months.
Yeah. You just can't let them cool too long. It's just, I don't know. Maybe that's just like a deck builder thing because we all enjoy building, having deck ideas and trying new things out. But just like I'm always more excited about like starting it over at that point. Anyway,
I was gonna say, even for me, where I usually only have one or at most two, and that's very rare going at a time, and so I'm not really building a new decks with the cards or disassembling much. My deck is sitting there. Even for me, anything past that 2 month point, I think most of the time is, just too long.
Yeah, I think it's more the headspace thing for me of like not remembering like what I was doing in the campaign really, or even like how I was approaching the deck, any of those things. Like I've always been that way with video games too, where like I didn't play for this for a couple of months, like I gotta start over. Although I have broken that habit because that would mean I would never finish a game again. So.
I know, right? Like that is a death sentence to finishing games.
Yeah, so I've broken that habit, so maybe I'll break that habit for Arkham too eventually. I don't know.
I mean, I think the new format makes the strongest argument for it, just because you're not getting like a constantly evolving card pool. We get the big dumps, and then, the card pool has been the same since when? Like this time last year? Wait, when did Scarlet Keys come out? Was that March? Sooner than that?
I don't even remember now.
Time's gotten weird. Anyway. Ian, what's going on with our patrons right now?
Well, first off, as always, just a big thank you to all our patrons for their support, especially bearing with us and continuing to support us as we go through these changes in format and our summer break. And all that Sean mentioned at the top about our change to our format and how that affects patrons. We also did a post about that on our Patreon, so if you are a patron and you're kind of ever wondering what's going on with us, be sure to like check in on our actual patron page, because we do make some posts there if there's like important changes, and then you can kind of get the written form to see what's going on. So you can check that out.
Check every once in a while for that list of things that we've done recently.
Yeah, and with that kind of change, we probably will be making more posts on Patreon, kind of outlining what we've been doing. So we'll be more active there than we might have been before. Is another way to put that. Thanks to our board members. That's Chris B, Chris H, and Chris M, our glorious conglomeration of Chris's. Morton, Jared, Ian, Philip, Patrick, Abilio, Jesse, Chad, Robert, and Walker. Thanks so much for your huge support of the podcast and being our steady at the helm of Mythos Busters. We have a special shout out to a random patron. This time goes to Andrew Smith. Thank you, Andrew, for your support as well. It's been quite a while since I did this patron spiel, so you might have forgotten that we do have my merch. We have a merch store, mythosmerch.com. Lots of cool merch you can check out there and wear out in the wild. And that's about it. We know that we do owe some folks some job titles. If you're at that patron level, please bear with us as we kind of continue to get back into fully operational mode after summer break. But
we had a hiring freeze over the summer.
Yes. Yeah. So we'll do a big kind of review of that and make sure everyone gets their job titles who is entitled to it. We'll make sure HR is aware and all the proper paperwork is filled out.
Similarly, there are a fair few folks who have left us a message on the Mythos Busters hotline, which you can do at 203-493-6984. And I'm still debating whether we do that on the podcast or whether we kind of turn that into like a Twitch segment. I think I might experiment, but that is, if you've called, know that it is in the queue somewhere, and we'll make people aware of it. And as always, if you have a comment, question, we said something you like, we said something you don't like. 203-493-6984. Leave us a message.
Or if you're on your phone, on your Facebook app or whatever, you can click call.
Straight to us.
Yep, if you're on our page. Also, if I know some people have mentioned this before, where they're a bit nervous about calling in and leaving a voicemail, you can also email us an MP3 of a recording of what would be a well rehearsed voicemail. So
Unlimited takes.
yeah,
We appreciate that.
mythosbusterspod@gmail.com.
Beautiful. All right. Well, there's a lot of shit that happened since we've last recorded. Let's get to it. Scott, take it away.
Oh, me? Are we doing FAQ?
Yeah, are we not? Oh, did I skip a thing?
We got a couple quick news things we can jump into.
Justin,
and then we'll give it to Scott.
To you.
I like the enthusiasm behind the FAQ, but let's talk news and then we'll get to it. This part will be pretty quick because some of it will overlap with based on when we're recording this and when this episode will come out. This may be in process or in the past, but just it's worth talking about. So this relates to Arkham Knights and then the Arkham Week of Horror. So if you haven't seen yet, be sure to go out to the FFG website. They did announce that in terms of Arkham Knights, this year they are not having an Arkham Knights experience that is tied to a single store. So in the past, it was at the FFG Game Center, and then when ownership there switched to the Game Center, they still figured out a way to partner together. This year, they're trying to decentralize it, sort of like what they did last year, but without the add-on Game Center event. So there's more information out there. They have some different Arkham Knights swag that game stores can order for events. They have some investigator-themed health and sanity dials, a deck box, I think maybe a token bag. But yeah, that's really what they've said there. I still haven't actually... Oh, go ahead.
Just pour one out really quickly for Arkham Knights as we knew it.
Yep. Yep. So we'll see how it goes this year with the decentralization and what that means for the future of it. But in addition to having the swag and such, they are doing the Arkham Week of Horror again. So from October 23rd to October 31st, they have some different things that are going on. Again, this is on the website, and we won't go through all of it because they've got better information out there than we'll just summarize. But they have things. They're doing, I think, a tarot reading, designer dares. I forget if they're doing a costume contest or photo challenge, something like that again. Are they doing a recipe book, or did I make that up?
No, they're collecting recipes. Yep.
So the Velma's Diner type thing again. We are getting a new parallel investigator. I won't say more on the ones we've previously got or recently gotten. We'll talk about that later in the episode, but we're getting yet another one, I think on the 30th.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're doing stuff with the devs as well, either messing with them or they're just playing on stream and a bunch of other stuff. So anyway, check it out. I'd follow them on social media. If there's anything that stands out you want to participate in, and you're not seeing official communication channels, feel free to check in our Discord. I'm sure people will be talking about it. But yeah, it's, again, another decentralized thing, but that's sort of the nature of the community and the way things are going now. So it's great that they're doing more of it.
Yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be cool to follow. Like I'm kind of excited to just check back in. That sort of ongoing engagement can be real fun.
Well, and what my favorite part of the week is going to be is actually it is not specifically for the Week of Horror, but it's going to happen during the Week of Horror, is on Halloween on October 31st.
Which is the close of the Week of Horror.
Yeah. We have been given Hemlock Vale preview cards to share with all of you. Is it... What do you guys think? Is it fair to tell them what type of cards they are?
I think we must.
Yes.
I think we must.
I mean, if you are hungry to see one of the new investigators, please join us on Halloween. We'll obviously post about it afterward, but anybody who can make it, let's have a great stream. We'll show you guys what we've got and talk about it. You can tell us how our initial reactions are amazing, because of course they are, and we'll have a great time.
So that's going to be on our Twitch channel. We'll obviously post it elsewhere, but if you want to join live, pay attention to Twitch. We will put it up on the schedule once we nail down the exact start time.
And chat's asking for a hint. Can we give like an ever so slight hint of the investigator? Either, I don't know.
Nope. You gotta show up to find out.
How about a letter in their name?
It is a letter in the alphabet.
It has a vowel.
Wow. Okay.
It's going to be so fun though. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Now on to the FAQ.
Scott, take it away.
It's time for you to get fat. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we had an FAQ. I don't know if you guys noticed. It happened. I'm going to go through some highlights of it, and then we're going to have a general taboo stuff conversation. First of all, I want to throw out there that FFG has been... I mean, the designers of Arkham have been awesome about when they released the FAQ. The article that comes with it explains so much of the thing they're thinking of and their decision points and just how they came to decisions and whatnot. I think they've done an excellent job, because I remember the first few FAQs, it was like, hey, here's the FAQ, and it just came out. But yeah, it's been an awesome tradition of a really glass door view of what's going on.
Yeah, it's a really cool response, and I think it was just a response, and to how obviously they noticed how much conversation and how big of a splash it makes amongst those who care, and those who care enough to follow and have an emotional reaction to the FAQ. It's really cool to take that peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, the transparency and the thought process is super awesome. I absolutely love it. So there has been a number of errata to scenarios in the Scarlet Keys, and tons of questions answered later on in the document. It's mostly just functional stuff. It just makes everything work. Like lots of clarification on concealed stuff and shift abilities. They also had some errata for a couple of the Edge of the Earth cards and Return to TCU cards. Yeah, just general housekeeping things. I think
anything for Scarlet Keys that's like big enough to like throw a PSA out there, you think?
No, not in my view at least. I guess I've played Scarlet Keys enough that it made sense. I don't know. I always encourage people to read the FAQ themselves. I think Scarlet Keys push the boundaries on a lot of things, and so an FAQ to clear up some of the fogginess around certain ideas, especially like with concealed stuff.
Yep, that's the main one I was asking about.
Yeah.
I think like the biggest one that I would call out, and you correct me if I misinterpreted this, was basically that as far as concealed is concerned, like people would ask all the questions, all right, well, how many does this give you? How many does this give you? They kind of gave it a blanket rule of like, through resolving a single card, you can't ping more than one, or sorry, single effect, you can't ping more than one concealed card. So like,
yeah,
breaking and entering was the one that like kind of exemplified it best for me.
Right. I guess I should say this too, that that example, like, I feel like that for the people who had discussed it like in our rules channel and stuff like that had
Yes, all
already
12
decided.
of
you. Yeah. All 12 of us.
I'm sorry, that was more pointed than I meant it.
No, that's fine. I mean, like, there's certain parts of the game, like with rules and whatever, where some people like to get into minutia. I love the minutia, and some people just fucking hate it, and I get that. So, but yeah, that's an important part of concealed. I thought that was more clear to me than I think a lot of other people may have thought. So, but that's good to point out, though. So another one, so this came out, I think, with, goodness, who was it? Maybe Preston? where his weakness said something along the lines of play this card, remove it from the game, which caused a change in the game state. Because you can't play a card unless it changes the game state. However, you can't, just the playing of the card isn't changing the game state. Does that make sense?
Really? Paying 10 resources doesn't change the game state?
Well, paying the cost to play a card, if the card does nothing, essentially, if it were
the
blank.
effect of the card does nothing.
Yeah.
Got it.
So, I believe it was his weakness that said it removed it from the game. Which changed it slightly, right? It didn't go to the discard as normal. Anyways, weaknesses can now be played even if they don't change the game state.
Yay.
It's just you could just play them. Playing them counts as game state changes, just to avoid their negative effects. I guess quantum paradox is being the one used as an example. So, yeah.
Quantum paradox.
I know, right?
Why do I not know that one?
That one is a neutral basic weakness. It's the seeker one. Only.
Yep. Okay. All right. I was trying to tie it back to a signature. I'm like, whose is that?
Yeah.
All right. I'm with you now.
I guess that was an issue. So that I think that also opens up a lot of design space where they can just, I don't know, they don't need to think of how a weakness can change the game state. Well, they figured out.
It definitely seems simpler all around.
Yeah, it's fine. Ignoring all costs is only so when you look at a card, there's the colon, right? There's the cost, like usually an arrow, colon, do something, or pay 2 resources with an arrow, whatever. Anytime something says ignore all costs, they clarified it's specifically talking about everything behind the colon. So when you look at a card like research notes is the example. So you can, for each point you spend, each point you succeed by, you can spend a certain amount of evidence to discover clues. Because it's after the colon, that is not a cost. So research notes cannot discover infinite amount of clues by spending 0 evidence.
Okay.
Even though you're spending the evidence, that is not considered a cost. Because it's after the colon. Does that make sense? Okay. Perfect. That's it on that. Sean, if you draw a dilemma and a weakness at the same time, like you draw 2 cards, which one takes priority? It's the one you don't want.
I'm gonna guess the weakness.
Yes, that has been clarified. So, yeah.
That matters.
Yeah.
Especially having played
Patrice.
that Nutso Patrice deck.
Yes.
I can tell
That's
you
exactly,
it matters.
That's exactly what I was going for. Yeah. The next one, they clarified for each versus for every. Just go read it. It's section 2.23. It hurts Diana with her weakness, with deny existence, because for each card you have to choose something, so you can't just fully, I'm going to take 5 horror. No, it's for each card. You have to choose horror or discard it. So, yeah. Signature cards.
Oh, really? We're just gonna move on. We're just gonna move on from that one right away.
Do you have something to say? I thought there was a pregnant pause there, and I just.
Yeah, I was taking every second of it.
Yeah, you're just
know,
crying, and it's okay. You're wiping away the tears. I know
it sucks, but it's fine. We'll move on.
I'm upset about it. I think that having deny existence cancel Diana's weakness just felt so on theme. It hurts. It really hurts. Yeah. I don't like this one, but whatever.
Oh, that also means Sister Mary too, doesn't it? Did you say that?
I did not, but I believe it
that
does.
So Sister Mary would work the same way, right?
Yep. Well, sucks to be tied to the Mystic class, I guess. More on that when we get to the taboo section. Anyways,
my Diana decks that care about willpower just got a lot weaker.
So stuff about signature cards. I feel like this was not necessarily needed, but I guess more clarification, because there's always been that stuff about no investigator can have someone else's investigator signature cards. So if a game effect would force a player to take control of a card with another investigator's signature card attached to it, that signature card is discarded. So if you use like Ellie to go search for someone's signature card or your signature card and then somehow transfer her over, your signature card gets discarded.
Okay. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
What shenanigans were we preventing with that one?
I don't know.
Was there something out there? Or was it just like, we don't want to have to worry about it. Teamwork exists. Screw it.
I don't know for sure. I think it was just more clarifying. There's probably someone found some ridiculous combo. Maybe in our speedrunning channel where people say like, hey, how many cards can Mandy draw with no actions? Like stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like really weird stuff. And then they submit the rule question. Nothing I think that would come up in normal play per se, but clarification on permanent cards. A card with the permanent keyword cannot be chosen to be attached to another player card unless explicitly stated. That there were some cards that would look to grab permanent cards, or you could attach them to other cards like oh goodness, what's that Mystic Ally who works well in the Doom Mystic that just came out, who's 3/3/3/3.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, what's her name, right?
Amina's first 4 XP?
Yeah.
That's her
that
name,
one.
right?
Yeah. So she can't attach permanent cards to her. Ellie
Elle,
Rubash.
yes.
Elle Rubash. There you go.
We even previewed her too.
Yeah, I know. Dude, if I ever remember a card name on this show, $100 to each listener. Just kidding.
Wow. What's the
Scott
operative?
statements are non-binding promises that are not officially endorsed by Mythos Busters LLC.
And that's how to get Justin to join in on the conversation.
That's how you get a talking to from your attorney.
Yeah.
I know more about disclaimers than I do about this FAQ.
Yeah. Okay. This one's an interesting one. If an effect allows you to take or perform multiple consecutive actions, such as Eon Chart or Nimble, there are no player windows between those actions.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So Nimble, you move 3 spaces. You're taking that move action. There's no squiggly boy, zappy boy, whatever it's called.
Unless you like run into a test, right?
Yeah, I get. Yeah,
That
because if you
would
run
like
into
open one.
because a test does have those fast windows. But Eon Chart is a big one, I think. Like the level 4 Eon Chart.
Or grappling hook, I imagine.
Anti-Markovnikov. Almost got it there. Brings up in chat, important thing for picking up keys. And other little fast actions like, oh, I'm going to move twice, run through this location, and grab the whatever fast thing that's attached to the location. So
Interesting.
okay, last little FAQ I want to go over before we get to taboo. Down the Rabbit Hole, one of my favorite cards, increases the cost to purchase cards that you don't have the name of in your deck. If your deck size drops below the legal deck size and you have to purchase level 0 cards, does Rabbit Hole increase the cost for those? The answer is no. So purchasing level 0 cards to reach a legal deck size, they cost 0 XP no matter what.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. That's how you want it to work.
Yes. Like, that would just be...
Suddenly Versatile costs like 7 XP, kinda.
Yeah, bonkers uncomfortable. Yeah. Okay, are we ready as a group of friends to discuss the taboo list.
Getting my popcorn ready.
All right. Does everybody have goggles to shield their eyes from the salt?
Goggles, they do nothing. Okay, first card that changed. Pathfinder. +1 experience. Neat. Cool. Seems
It's fine. Not needed. I kind of forgot about Pathfinder a while ago, but I understand that it is still good.
Yeah, the change was +3. Was that what it was before this?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so they knocked it down to 1. I think that's fair. I think that's one of those ones. Like, it's been long enough.
Was it a total of 3 or +3?
I think it was a total of 3.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was
I
plus
think
2.
it was a total of 3. Yeah.
Yeah. I think +3, or sorry, a total of 3, like 6 experience for Pathfinder for 2 cards was a lot.
Yeah.
4, I'm like, okay, I'll consider it.
It is super powerful, and it remains so, but, like, similar to other cards, like, the card pool gets big enough now. There's, like, a lot of movement tech out there, so I think that this probably reflects that now.
Yeah. Ian, Sharpshooter, -1 experience. How do you feel?
Why didn't this exist when I was doing my Abandoned and Alone run with Sharpshooter?
Why
I don't
did
think
this
it would have
exist from
helped.
print?
But...
Yeah. I like this. I think, like, Sharpshooter is such a key card to a deck archetype that this essentially means -2 experience to start the game with it, or to start getting your deck up with it. I love this.
Yeah.
This was a level 2 card, right?
It was level 3. Now it's level 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 6 XP. Now it's 4 XP for 2 copies.
Okay. All right.
Having played with Sharpshooter, it's not going to break anything to lower the XP on this.
No.
Yeah.
Like, I vary on the opinion that maybe it should be 1 XP, but
It should be a level 0 card. I'm sorry, guys. I'll say it. I'll
Wow.
say it.
Some folks in chat are suggesting permanent instead. I'd be down for that
exceptional
because,
plus permanent.
like, when you don't get it, and it is like a cornerstone of your, it's like one of those weird cards where it's like, it's only worth it if it's the cornerstone of your deck, but then if you don't get it, then it's like, why are you even in my deck? So, yeah.
I think permanent seems reasonable for some cost.
Yeah.
It's fair. Permanent is a very strong word, though.
That's true.
Like, it
is.
defines decks, but
Yeah.
I guess that's what we're hoping with Sharpshooter. So,
Yep.
moving on to Runic Axe. One of the upgrades, Inscription of the Hunt, is +1 experience. And Inscription of the Hunt was a 1 experience upgrade. Now it's 2. It says, Hunt, immediately move to a connecting location or engage an enemy at your location. So it was basically a fast move or a fast engage if you spent a charge of Runic Axe.
And how much was the upgrade originally?
1. Now it's 2.
Okay, yeah, that seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Moving to an enemy or moving to clues are both very useful effects.
I think it's totally fine. I will say, like, the customizable cards in general, like, I feel like there should be a higher barrier to apply taboo to them, just because there's already so damn much on those cards to keep track of and remember. Like, having to remember extra text or XP from taboo on customized. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but it feels like another extra level.
Is anyone bold enough to use one of their extra copies and, like, draw extra boxes on it?
Not me, but I admire the the gumption of anyone who does it.
Riverman asks, does it count towards the 10 XP limit? Was that ruled on? I don't know if it was ruled on.
So.
I assume it counts towards the 10 XP limit. Like, to me, it just added an extra box. So you're allowed to tick 10 boxes. So
That would make sense to me.
yeah. All right, last one on the chained list is Shed a Light. It is a level 0 Seeker card
Yeah,
event. Was +2 experience.
Whoopsie doodle. Sorry, you secret a little too close to the sun there, Survivor.
Yeah.
Whoops.
So this is the one for my benefit and for listeners who don't have the card ready, who if the difficulty is reduced to 0, then you get, what is it? A clue? Two clues?
One additional clue at the location and one additional clue at any location.
Ooh, that's
So
right.
it's a 2-cost event, fast.
Yeah.
Play before revealing a chaos token during an investigation you're performing, and only if the difficulty of this test is 0. Yeah, so different.
And it's a hell of a lot easier to get a shroud down to 0 than it is to get an enemy down to 0. In my experience.
Yeah.
True.
And especially a level 0 survivor card. Like if you combine this with seeker stuff and seekers that have access to level 0 survivor things, or survivors that have access to various seeker things. Yeah.
Shit, everyone can take flashlight, brother.
Yep. I mean, flashlight plus other things, right? Like it just, yeah.
It's totally fair. I think this one is totally fair. Again, another one of these kind of like meta elements of the taboo of how it works in my brain is any level 0 card that gets XP added just kind of falls out of my memory.
Dead to me.
Yeah.
I don't use it. Like if it already has XP and it gets extra XP, that's fine because I'm already like have it in mind that it costs some amount of XP. But if it used to be level 0 and now it costs, like the chances are good I'm probably not going to use it again.
I think only in Daryl will I bother because he just plays that archetype specifically.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah.
Remember when Machete disappeared from every single game ever? And then suddenly came back? It was like Thanos snapped out and then the Avengers snapped it back. That's what happened.
Yeah. I'm not even convinced it was still in my card box. Like, I think it went out for smokes for a few years and then came back.
Went for a ride on its old bicycle spokes to go get milk.
Yep.
Hey, son. Did you shop anything?
All right, so that's it for Chained. I think I'm fine with everything.
Yeah.
Nothing egregious here. This is a pretty light touch.
All right, so Mutated. Looking at Hypnotic Gaze and Banish, they are similar now to Ritual Candles, Jewel of Aureolus, and Voice of Ra. They just look for symbol tokens instead of the indicated symbols. So, fine.
Yeah.
Sean. Mr. Renfield, David. Now,
the one?
Yeah, he is no longer chained. No longer costs 3 experience.
Renfield is free. Let's take back society for our own, comrades.
So he gains 1 resource for each doom on him to a maximum of 3 resources, which I think is absolutely fair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, to keep him at level 0, I know, Ian, you had that crazy experience where you had like 7 or 8 doom on him in that Carcosa campaign we had. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like 3 scenarios where he can get a little crazy. All right. Some cards just have that, guys. Let us have that.
Yep.
But capping out at 3 for a level 0 card seems perfectly reasonable.
Yeah. I think this was the taboo that a lot of us originally said should probably be the taboo instead of the chain. I mean, most of the time I'm using David in your normal deck that uses him. I'm like not going over that cap anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, most of the time this is just like how Renfield used to be.
I feel like I'm being really cheeky if I'm running with 2 Doom on Renfield, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Like going to 3 in anything but like the first scenario of Dream Eaters seems crazy. Or Phantom of Truth in the right situation.
Yeah. And I think the concern with David was some of the Doom play that's coming out in Mystic, and some of the asset readying stuff that's going on. And a lot of that, I think, anything that really took advantage of Renfield in that sense, this curtails him way better than 3XP. And still allows Mystic to have a really great ally at level 0, which every other class has. And
Yeah, let us have shit. Thank you for Renfield back. Appreciate it. I'll give him that one.
Yeah. Persuasion. Persuasion now says parlay, choose a non-weakness enemy at your location. Cool.
That was one of the ones that was using humanoid or something like that, right?
Yeah, it was a choose a non-weakness humanoid enemy. Yeah. So now it's just
That's a buff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading through some of the cards and being like, if I have to figure out, or if I have to build a deck around dealing with humanoid or not, and I've only played through, campaigns however many times, this one can just stay in the box. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I feel like they and we're going to see Interrogate in a second here for a very similar reason. And I feel like they just went a little too thematic with the initial design, and they're kind of course correcting such that parlay stuff will be more useful going forward.
Yeah, that's where I was gonna go with it, Sean. Like, I think as a designer, you have to balance between like, what makes thematic sense and what makes like a useful card, and I think even like the theme of the original totally makes sense, and like maybe it doesn't make as much sense to persuade a whippoorwill or something, but I think in these cases I like the change. I think it makes more sense to lean in the direction of like giving it broader utility,
and we love that. And we're gonna be in the mountains of madness, like beating up elder things. Where's the trigger? Interrogate honestly looks a lot better if that's just enemy. Like
Non-elite, yeah.
Where is
I might actually play it.
Yeah. Agree.
All right, so Daredevil. Instead of shuffle each weakness that was discarded, this card's ability now reads, after the skill test resolves, draw each weakness discarded by this effect. And this is specifically the level 0 edition of it. Yeah, the level 2 one still shuffles them back. I kind of feel like this one might actually be a bit of a buff, similar to the Rook, like Ursula, Mr. Rook works, right? Where it's like, you know what? I'm in a position I can tank my weaknesses. I'm going to search for 9. Hopefully, I get my weaknesses. Yeah, I think this is
interesting. This is a weakness summoner. You're right.
Yeah, like Anti-Markovnikov. There we go. Says in chat, it's just a new card now, right? Like it's yeah. So, it was to stop an infinite Wendy exploit.
Of course, it was infinite Wendy.
Of course, it was. Yeah,
that wacky orphan.
How many cards will fall victim to the infinite Wendy?
As the survivor, I apologize for Wendy's existence. She does a lot of things. Yeah, I really love Daredevil now. Even more so, because I think this is kind of cheeky.
Yeah, it really changes the dimension.
Yeah, like you could run this as a card that you specifically want to draw all your weaknesses from your deck.
Yeah, I totally didn't think of that application, but that's interesting.
Because
as someone who always draws weaknesses at the worst possible moment.
If you have it in Wendy, you could just you could have no other rogue skills but this. And then you
just clear your deck. Well, and then clear your deck because it's Wendy and it's abandoned and alone.
Oh, there it is.
There you go. That's why.
Okay,
There it is.
yeah.
That's the brake lever right there.
Yeah, sorry. In my mind, I was like, "Oh, you play the weaknesses as you draw them." No, it's after. So, but I guess if you have the cards you need in your hand, and you have stuff
Once you have your loop together, right?
yeah, and you put like when you play an event, you put it on the bottom of your deck. Neat. Anyways,
Someone will still break it. It's
Yep.
infinite, Wendy.
Okay, Triss Scarborough, the nerf that we all saw coming. So basically, she can now evade a non-elite enemy, not just any enemy, when she discovers a clue.
Aw.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got some good campaigns in
Oh,
before that
boy.
happened.
Yeah.
It's totally fair, but it hurts.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad that we had an Iron Man run with Justin abusing that, and so we got that in before this happened.
Abusing the absolute shit out of it. Yep.
It was so good.
I may ignore this in solo runs.
Sure.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Sure.
I mean, here's the thing. In solo, you can probably just evade the enemy
Probably.
if it's elite. So, Gnarl's Apprentice, no, this is not all of our faults.
No, we can claim Key of Ease, Scott.
Key of Ease
but,
is 100% my fault. Yes.
I don't know if we can claim this one.
By using and abusing it in front of Maxine and calling her over and being like, hey, come here. Look how I'm using this. Yeah, that was... Yeah. Another great card that got hit. Ancient Covenant. This card's reaction ability. When you resolve a blessed token during a skill test. It's not when an investigator at your location resolves a blessed token. So the bestest of covenants.
I mean, it's still really good. Even if you can just only guarantee auto success for yourself, that's still
yeah.
good.
And if that's what your deck is going for, I mean, when I played my Bless Wendy, the parallel one, it was mostly me using it. So I'm okay with it. I'll ignore this in solo because it doesn't matter. That's the joke.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Anyways, I think that's fair. This is the best covenant. I think that anyone disagree with that?
No.
I don't
I'm
think so.
honestly surprised this didn't get more XP. This didn't get a chain. And I'm not saying it needs it, but given what has been chained before, I'm surprised this got this adjustment.
I'm very
And I'm fine with it.
I'm very happy with this adjustment.
Yeah.
All right, geared up. This card's forced effect now reads forced. When your first turn of the game begins, one at a time, play up to 5 item assets, as opposed to just straight up assets. Right?
Was geared up not?
Oh no, sorry.
No, geared up is already item.
Sorry,
it just
was
caps
item.
it at 5.
Yes, 5. Yeah.
What were people doing to get you more than 5 out?
This sounds like some degeneracy again.
Yeah, I know. Like half the time when I read the FAQ, I'm just like, well, I'm never smart enough to figure out how that got nerfed, so I guess we're fine.
It reduces the cost by 1, so they were probably playing cheap assets.
Oh, it was backpack. Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
backpack.
Honestly, I have done that once before, but it didn't feel degenerate. But I could see, especially with like level 2 backpack, that's free. That's insane.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you just
All
like
right.
vomit out assets. Oh yeah, backpack into Schnoffner's catalog. Oh my god. Jeremiah Kirby. This card ability gains max twice per game. Neat.
Reasonable.
Stop seekers from looping their decks like crazy and just... Yeah.
One for each copy.
Yep. I'm totally fine with this. Burn after reading, which is the one that removes Doom. This card's ability gains max twice per game. Cool. Once per copy.
Doesn't it? Oh, the exile is optional, isn't it? Like, doesn't it exile anyway? Why does it need a limit? But yeah, the exile's optional.
Another taboo that we saw coming. Research
Oh,
notes.
sorry. Before we get too far from it, Thrasher Darkrai says multiple people using it because
Oh,
max is a global limit, correct?
That's true.
That's important.
Same. So Jeremiah Kirby is
Well,
also.
he's unique.
Yeah, but I mean, you play him, he dies. I play him, he dies. You
Oh.
play him.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. 4-player, 8 Doom removal. Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. Yep. That's
Doom removal
That
is
seems
scary.
reasonable.
Doom removal is scary in this game.
That-
I think as designers, like that is a very, very, very
Yeah.
powerful action.
agree.
So, research notes. We also it's coming some sort of nerf. Max 3 evidence spent per round. So you can't drop a shit ton of clues, like 12, and then suddenly draw them all back up again.
Seems reasonable to me.
I think.
Oh my god, research notes is level 0. Is it level 0?
It's level 0. Yeah.
That still seems super fair. That seems super fair.
I think
level 0.
Well, I prefer these max 3 evidence per round, similar to the David Renfield of maxing it out, like capping it.
Yeah.
I love level 0 cards because, yeah, you can still have 2, but it's max 3 evidence spent per round, so you can spend 3.
Yeah, so
That's
it's a copy, or sorry, the limit is across both copies.
Yeah, I like having this because it is like Sharpshooter, a key card to a deck.
True.
And yeah,
It really does tie the room together when you're doing clue dropping.
it really does. And if you're building a deck without research notes from the beginning of the game, but research notes is not in it, like that's a shit deck. Or it probably won't be great. Well, no, it's Seeker, so it'll be fine. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can still investigate just by sneezing with Seeker, so I think we're gonna be okay.
yeah,
Stumble and fall into a pile of clues.
Sean. I'm sorry.
Oh, was it time?
The time has come.
It's time.
Are we
And you know
doing
what,
it
Sean?
now?
I'm actually going to ask you to.
Oh God.
Oh, the chemicals. Yeah, salt.
It's all right, Sean. I'm here for you and mad too.
Yeah.
Sean, I'm not even going to read this one. I want you to
Well,
read it.
Turns out, everyone,
I feel like this is
my-
part of the healing process. Is you reading it?
my earnest and reasonable pleas were ignored. And the next entry in the FAQ is Power Word. This card's action ability now reads: Action. If attached enemy is at your location. Parlay. Test Willpower 3. If you succeed, give it a command. Limit once per round per command. Go. This enemy moves once in a direction of your choice. And now, you'll notice Cower was missing there. So this card's customizable sheet loses Mercy and gains Cower. This enemy exhausts for 1 pip.
Come on.
So, like, all right. First of all, like being just like super duper serial and leaving the emotion to the end here. You're going to be socially shamed for playing this card for how much that test is going to slow things down. Having to take that test every time you want to give a command. It's gonna make
Mechanically, it's slow. Yep.
Yep. So beyond that, I mean, okay, so I guess backing up, I have played this in what I thought was one of the most favorable circumstances. I was playing a Spellslinger Agnes in Return to Dunwich, right? Like Dunwich that has very few defenses against this, in particular with Undimensioned and Unseen. And yeah, it was powerful and it worked well. I had to devote a lot of XP to get it there, and it is extremely action intensive. So you can either have like the really powerful abilities, or you can like really shave down the action cost depending on how you upgrade it. I guess I didn't feel like it. It didn't need it. It didn't need it. Let mystics have nice things. This wouldn't, we've talked about this ahead of time just because I knew this was coming.
Yeah.
But this wouldn't feel so bad if like the clutch of the rest of the purple cards that we got in this same set didn't feel so overcorrected and anemic as a result. Like the one really fun, really cool, splashy, weird card. This does not make it unplayable by any means, but boy, it takes the shine off.
Yeah, and I think like people are bringing up in chat too that it was being abused in certain circumstances. I'm not sure I agree with.
So what in the parlance of what we're talking about here, what constitutes abuse?
I think it was getting the myriad and the double action one, and so you could tell 3 enemies to move away and exhaust for a single action.
Okay.
But again, I don't know.
But how much XP did you have to put in to be able to do that?
I think that's at least 8.
I think it's like 12.
It can't be 12.
Oh, for just the ones you listed? Yeah, okay, never mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there is a thing too, like, so we also, this might be partially me too. We played Iron Man next to Nick and Duke's table, and I was Luke and I was playing Power Word. And what's the car racing scenario? And I had the manta ray.
Horror in high gear. And I was basically riding the manta ray around. And every turn, I was elbowing Nick and being like, "Hey, Nick, look what I'm doing with Power Word." So again, this one's probably my fault, but also I think it's the community's fault. I'm not going to blame myself. The thing is, I think Power Word, if you use it abusively, which I think it is easy to do, it's a problem. Mm-hmm. But I don't know that this is the solution to it. Because I think Go and Cower, being on the front side, were just fine.
Because, like, yeah, it disables an enemy, but you're paying 3 for this, first of all, and you have to continue to pay actions to disable the enemy. It's not like it completely negates the enemy.
It's essentially like automatically succeed at an agility test once per turn is the base level. Mm-hmm. Nick's saying playing Power Word at Iron Man isn't the reason, Scott, but it didn't help. Yeah, that's fair. Mm-hmm. I kind of like the willpower test slightly from theme, but not through mechanic. The fact that, like you said, it's going to just tie up time. Having fine clothes brings it to a 1. I think maybe we need to look into what kind of fun things can we throw into that test as far as skill cards, or it's a parlay test. Like, what can we do?
That's interesting.
That might be a new way we can look at Power Word. Someone somewhere in chat mentioned something about the new campaign that we haven't quite talked about, but how there's like a lot of parlay, where it seems there's a lot of people talking, and so it seems like parlay-y stuff.
I agree with you, Scott, but I also struggle with it because in addition to, so this is to the comment on putting stuff into the test, in addition to investing all the experience, in addition to the resources to play it down, then it's now plus throw some cards in to hope it fires.
Yeah.
I mean, again, and I am lower on the skill curve, and so that just makes it a little much for me. So I'm not trying to say it's unplayable, but the word I've been using to describe this is overcorrection, because I think it could definitely change from where it was. I liked it as is, but if it needs to be for the spirit of taboo, great. But I think it's just too much for my taste.
So I would throw out that I think that, you know what, fine, I'm okay with Cower being on the back. If you want to nerf it a little bit. And if you do want to have a test, make it 1 willpower. Right? So you're looking at basically Tentacle Fail for most Mystics.
Yeah.
I think that would be my compromise to this. I think it is a bit of Justin, I think you're right. I think it's a bit of an overcorrection.
And can we also talk about how they did my boy Vincent dirty?
Yeah, I was waiting for you to comment on that. Like Mercy just straight up going away. Like
I'm trying to not get hung up on that because that's the very specific use case. But that was part of the fun to me. Because now this is, again, I enjoy playing Mystic, but now it's another Mystic card.
I think I kind of agree with you, Sean, where I feel like this last set felt like Mystic was overcorrected and Power Word was the one gem, and not to mention that we had Renfield like chained with 3 XP. Like it just
felt like, I don't know, like I'm a Mystic stan, but like when I look out at the breadth of decks that are like slaughtering the game and doing all this degenerate shit, I don't often see that they are purple decks. They seem awfully yellow, red, and green to me, but that's just one man's viewpoint, I guess.
I'd agree with that. Yep.
So I don't know. I just the Mystic's supposed to be like the crazy splashy class, right? I would have preferred them like give this a downside. Like to give a command costs you something else.
Well, so that was my question. I was wondering is, to me, if we're looking for a downside or a risk, it seems like you could get stuff going near infinitely if you get the right enemy, right? And I understand how that can be a problem. I guess I'd say I'd love to see, but I'm also wondering if it's feasible if, as you are commanding this enemy, if you have it do certain things, it loses health because you are, draining its will or something like that. Now that then starts to hit a cost benefit analysis of you pay a bunch to get it down and power it up, and then you only get to do something 2 or 3 times. But again, to me that's more thematic than the current test and change.
Like give it charges. Just straight up give it charges and make it cost charges to give commands. And we still get the cool thing, but it has an expiry date.
And you can also, if you want to really build your deck around it, you can build a Mystic deck that adds charges to things.
Yeah, that's my ultimate like counter offer, which I know the developers care about and will take. Give it charges.
Okay,
let us have the cool thing, but like I understand why it's complicated. Nick is actually here. Shut up, Nick.
Sorry, wasn't listening. Was playing Dark Souls 2. Oh my god. Okay,
that's pretty Nick.
Yeah, that tracks. So what about this? What if it was just parlay test 3 willpower if you succeed and nothing else changed?
I still wouldn't like enjoy it, the effect it would have on the flow of the game, but I would understand and accept it better.
Yeah.
I agree with all that. Would prefer if it would be a test of 2.
My only concern with test of 2 is then you play Fine Clothes and it becomes a test of 0.
Yeah, but you had to gear up to do that. And you've taken up that spot.
I mean, a single, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's an overcorrection, and yeah, maybe it is just a parlay 2 willpower test. That's it.
Let's split the difference and call it 2.5.
Sounds good to me.
You just can't win by tie is ultimately what that means.
Yep.
Sure.
Right. Fair enough.
So it's essentially 3.
Right.
Let's introduce the concept of over-under to Arkham.
It's like my favorite Star Wars CCG card, Brainiac,
Yeah,
who has pi as a number on his card.
and a square root.
Yes.
All right. Well, I mean, just to cap off the power word, I've said so many words about this knowing it was coming, so yeah, I'll keep it short. But, like, I'm going to be looking at the purple cards in this upcoming box very fucking closely, and there better be cool, fun shit in there. Or I will complain about it on the internet.
Salty Elderberry brings up a cool idea in chat. Willpower 1 test. If you fail, the monster explodes like the goat. So if you fail, the enemy dies. You've already spent the action, nothing happens, and now you've lost your power worded enemy. That would be really interesting, and that is themey as hell.
That's a cool downside. I like that.
Yeah.
I think the real takeaway here is Nick and Duke. We know you guys have a tough job, and you're not going to always make everyone happy. Hopefully, this one is on your radar to keep looking at.
No, fuck them. This sucks.
I agree with it. Sucks. It's also the reason I'm not going to play Taboo anymore until it changes.
Yeah, but that's ultimately my opinion now. Is I'm just not good. I maybe used to be able to make the argument that I was good enough at Arkham Horror, the card game, to like need Taboo, but I am not anymore. So it's fine.
I know that feeling is more and more real for me.
I know. Right?
I'm like, I used to be good at this game, kind of, I think. But,
maybe I only remember my victories the farther out we get.
I've let you all talk who are very connected to this card. I too like this card a lot. But my perspective was coming at it as someone who is not like necessarily a Mystic main and was looking for something different from the Mystic class. And so I really responded to Power Word, similarly to things like Summon Servitor. What's the other? There's another card I can't think of, but I like the really weird Mystic stuff that's like not just, oh, let's throw willpower at something, but like let's do something weird that feels like a spell that's doing something wonky. And so that's what I really liked about Power Word. And I think it still retains that with the errata, but I think part of my feeling is similar to what I mentioned earlier about customizable cards, and it's even more extreme with this one, with a layer of what's been added and removed from this card, like having to remember all that in addition to the customizable stuff already, and what you already talked about in terms of having to take a test each time. I don't know. Yeah, I think this is one we'll probably see evolve in the future if I had to put my prediction hat on.
Boy, I hope so. We'll see if I get around to trying it. I don't know if I'm even going to like put my salty words where my mouth is. Is that how that goes? That's not the phrase.
Not sure.
Okay. Well, let's move on.
Well, you can say whatever you want and then just taboo it or errata it later. Words don't matter anymore, apparently.
So lastly,
we didn't catch it in words testing.
Lastly, to finish off the FAQ list under forbidden cards, they have now forbidden Agnes. Sean, your take.
Aw.
I'm still waiting really for sad. Double or Nothing to return from exile.
I will say it bugs me that there is. I appreciate why Forbidden exists. It bugs me that there is a card in there.
Yeah.
I want an errata for that because it's just, here's this one card that you have purchased. Don't play with it.
Yeah. Like, how about max twice per game?
There's totally a way to make it playable for sure.
Or after this test resolves, exile this card.
Sure.
Like, let Double or Nothing fire twice per game. What is wrong with that? Someone will find something wrong with that. Okay, I get that. But yeah.
Just wait till next FAQ where Power Words on the forbidden list.
Oh, God.
Well, I mean, it might as well be at this point. I'm ignoring Taboo, so. Man, Scott, to your joke, like, there would be a riot. There would be a riot. We have said the occasional scathing thing about someone's favorite investigator in the life of this podcast. And those are some of the harshest reactions we get. People are attached to their investigators.
Yeah. their mains, if you will.
I might.
Yeah, if they ever forbid an entire investigator, I don't see how they could.
Yeah, there's no way.
Like, there's always going to be a card that made that investigator insane. Like, just so good. They would forbid or fix that card before they ever forbid an investigator, I think.
I mean, you say that, but...
Okay, super hypothetical. Off the top of your head, what investigator would be closest to forbidden right now?
Closest? It's either Rex or Mandy.
Ooh. I'm seeing a lot of Gloria. Amanda, Rex.
Gloria.
I'm going to throw out Wendy. Like,
Yeah, Wendy causes a lot of shenanigans.
she's had a lot of cards put on this list because she's messed up. So,
You'll
yeah.
notice how none of them that we've discussed are purple.
You mean
Except
Gloria?
for Gloria, I guess.
Except for Gloria. Gloria?
Gloria,
Yeah.
Gloria.
Oh, maybe
Oh, yeah, okay, Luke.
Yeah.
Luke. I'm quite sure that the developers would sleep easier at night if Luke hit the forbidden list. Well, except Nick really likes Luke, so I think that'd be double-edged sword for him.
Well, he also really likes us, and he's decided to piss us off, so...
Nick
knows?
uses Luke to test collision in scenarios. That's fair. Yeah, who can clip out of the map?
Exterior collisions.
Yeah. Anyways, neat FAQ. Like, the FAQ part was great. Obviously, we have interesting thoughts on the taboo list. I think I'm okay with pretty much everything. I'm a little upset about Power Word.
That's where I'm at. Most of
Yeah.
it makes a ton of sense and improves a lot of cards. It's just, like I said, Power Word is such an overcorrection, and it's a card I like so much.
Yeah.
That's why my salt level is so high on this.
But I also understand that Power Word can be used and abused. But I'm also coming from Sean's perspective where I'm like, well, do we let the people who use and abuse cards determine the course of the game?
Okay. Yeah. So, if you've listened to this podcast over the years, you know I have many thoughts on this particular topic. I think this is a better problem to have than potentially the alternative. I know there's not just one alternative, but the alternative that I have lived and was more painful, which is letting the powerful player cards warp the encounter design. I prefer this to that world, even though they break my toys sometimes.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right.
The thing I'll say to that, too, with Lord of the Rings, because I know that's what you're talking about, is Lord of the Rings also didn't have a taboo list that could be altered. They had a errata list, which just hard changed the card.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like Machete, where it's like, oh, okay, well, you know what? At this course of the game, yeah, it's a bit too efficient for what it does. 4 years later, it's like, well, no, it's fine at level 0. And since Machete came back into play at level 0, I don't know if I've included it in a deck. So,
Nope.
that
Maybe
type
one or
of-
two.
That type of balancing with the taboo list versus like hard errata, as much as sometimes I disagree with some taboos, I love the fact that taboos can change. David Renfield, perfect example as well. So,
Yep.
I do like that it's a dialogue and not like tablets coming down on high that can't be changed.
yeah. And like reprinting sets with the new text.
True, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad we've never dipped a toe in that direction. I'm sure FFG is too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, fun FAQ. We're always interested in what you guys think. So if you have any strong thoughts on the FAQ, please feel free to send them to us and the Mythos Busters hotline or at the Gmail as we mentioned earlier. Boys, we got some news to cover.
Did we?
Yes, we do. Ian, can I ask you to take it away?
Yes, let me see what we have up first. Yeah, so I guess the first thing to tackle and this big smorgasbord of new stuff that was revealed is the game's not dead. There's more content coming. And that means we have a whole new, I guess they're not called cycles anymore. What are these called now?
Campaigns.
Campaigns.
Or
there
expansions,
you go.
right?
Yeah.
They just like blanket call them expansions.
So the next campaign has been revealed, and I think we've already mentioned it a few times as we've been talking. And it's the Feast of Hemlock Vale. As usual, we are getting the Investigator expansion and then the actual campaign expansion. They haven't said a ton, as usual, about what the story is going to be or who the Great Old One is, if any. As usual, because they got to keep some mystery. But we know we're going to some strange place called Hemlock Isle, doing some investigations about some mutated wildlife. And there are some residents who are preparing for a festival, which I'm sure will just be a nice, joyful festival and not at all malicious in any way.
Seems like we're gonna circle some maypoles and wear some flowery wreaths, and I'm sure a not at all sinister type of way.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll just have like a whole like festival scenario where we just talk with people and no enemies, right?
I'm into it.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Maybe I'll win that one. Yeah, so initial thoughts all on what we'll talk a little bit about some of what has been spoiled, but just about this setting and anything you're excited for.
I mean, it's got serious like Wicker Man vibes, like that, like rural pagan cult vibes, I'm sure. So that's fun. And given that it talks about how, I think you mentioned it earlier, there's kind of a heavy NPC element, it seems. That's going to be really interesting too.
Kind of feels Stardew Valley to me. The fact that there's going to be NPCs that you need to talk to, I guess. And you're in one little town, it seems. So.
Oh, we're going to get embroiled in some drama, boys.
Oh. You know what's funny, too, is like Stardew Valley. I don't know if you guys have played it. Great game. Love it. My least favorite part is interacting with the locals.
Oh, no.
Like, I want to build an efficient farm. Oh, I need to go talk to this person to unlock silos or whatever the hell. It's like, I guess I'll do social things.
I love how I'm the exact opposite of Scott in that, like, I'm like, give me all, like, I want to build up everyone's relationships. Everyone needs to love me.
Ian's the one who has,
I guess
like,
there's a
gift
farm there
chart
somewhere. It's probably rotting by now.
Oh, God.
And yet you haven't gone back to Midnight Suns, Ian.
Okay,
Build those relationships.
That's because I've been building relationships in Baldur's Gate 3, so... Yeah.
I'm excited for this one. I know it's not a direct correlation, but this seems like it is. It condenses down some of the concepts from Scarlet Keys. Like Scarlet Keys is maybe more macro. This is more micro of some of the same things, or at least from what I'm gathering from reading about it. And I enjoy Scarlet Keys, so I'm not saying that one will be better than the other in that regard, but I'm excited for the direction it's going with the the mentioning the day and night and deciding what you do, and I'm guessing where you go or something, and then throw in the NPC element, and I'm excited.
Now, it doesn't seem like the structure itself is meant to be this way, but this feels like I'm going to approach this like fucking Majora's Mask. Like this has a set number of days and nights that it goes through, it looks like. And I assume that means that there's probably a finite number of the NPC quest lines that you can do in a single run. So I think it's going to be really interesting to kind of wind your way through and figure out what everyone's doing on each day. And it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, I do like how this is so different from Scarlet Keys. Just variety is good. And like throughout the course of the game's life, we've had so many different scales and themes. And like we had Forgotten Age where we were Indiana Jonesing around. And then that was followed up by like back in Arkham and like the scale of a town. And, we've kind of gone all over the place. But the past 2 campaigns have been very adventure-y, like all through Antarctica essentially, and then across the whole world. So I do
Lots of
appreciate
travel.
kind of, like going back to the smaller scale now.
Yeah. All within, not within a single village, but on like a single island. So
Yeah.
that'll be fun.
So in this article for Justin, do you want to say something?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I am curious. Again, this is more my amount of time to play. Arkham is near the end of the article. It does mention with so many different paths for the story to take, you'll want to revisit the tale of the Feast of Hemlock Vale again and again, which I love from a value, a choice, a replayability standpoint. But I can already feel my FOMO rising for, oh man, I want to play that again. But I get to play like 3 or 4 campaigns a year.
It seems like
Did I
this
make
might
the
be
wrong
the
choice?
This might be the campaign that finally pushes you to do a little bit of soloing, Justin.
I think it might. It just might.
So in this announcement article, we did get a few cards spoiled. So Justin, why don't you read Kate Winthrop for us?
Yeah, so Kate Winthrop, the scientist, she is our seeker. She's got 2 willpower, 4 intellect, 2 combat, 4 agility, traded as Miskatonic and a scholar. You begin the game with Flux Stabilizer, inactive, side face up. She has a squiggly boy. Move 1 clue from Kate Winthrop to a science or tool asset you control with no clues on it. Forced, when an asset you control with a clue on it leaves play, place its clue on your location. Elder Sign effect. +0, you may move 1 clue from an asset you control back to Kate Winthrop. She has 6 health and 8 sanity.
I guess we should, since she starts with it in play, we should go ahead and read that all Flux Stabilizer. If you want to take that one, Sean.
Sure. So this sucker's permanent and double-sided. So Flux Stabilizer, inactive side, is item, tool, and science traded. Permanent, Kate Winthrop deck only. Forced, after a clue is placed on Flux Stabilizer, search your bonded cards or discard pile for 1 copy of Etheric Current and shuffle it into your deck. Flip Flux Stabilizer, keeping all tokens and attachments. And then its active side, which the art changes. I always love that. That's great. Active side, same traits, and it has the reaction ability. When you place a clue on an asset you control, get +2 skill value for your next skill test this phase.
I love the flavor text on it too. Is this the same energy harnessed by Nikola Tesla?
Could it be?
Yeah, just want to take this on horror in high gear and like suddenly be back in 1954 or forward in 1954, as it were.
And then she also has these events, Etheric Current. So this is, you can already tell Kate is a little bit of a complicated investigator in terms of there's a bunch going on here. But
I know I'm still confused.
Yes, so am I. I think it'll make sense when I actually play her for the first time. So we have both of these are events, zero cost events. The first one is Etheric Current Yugoth. Science traits bonded to Flux Stabilizer. Play only if Flux Stabilizer is on its active side. Fight action. Move all clues on assets you control to Kate Winthrop. For this attack, you may use intellect instead of combat. If you succeed and the attacked enemy is non-elite, you may exhaust it and move it to any location. Draw one card. Flip Flux Stabilizer, keeping all tokens and attachments. So Cliff's Notes version, it's a fight that lets you teleport the enemy anywhere and exhaust it, basically. And then the other Etheric Current, the Yoth version, also bonded to the Stabilizer. Also only play if it's on its active side. It's an evade. Move all clues on assets you control to Kate Winthrop. For this evasion attempt, you may use intellect instead of agility. If you succeed and the target of this evasion is non-elite, shuffle into the encounter deck. Draw one card. Flip the Flux Stabilizer. So those are the two.
Do we assume there's an investigate one that we're not seeing?
Well,
we
the
have
article says it gives you access to one of two, so it seems
cool,
like
cool.
these are the two.
Okay, so I assume then that this appears to be a cost to doing the cool things that she's doing. When you put a clue on from her onto a thing you control, you can no longer spend it, right? Like, it's no longer under her control. It's like attached to something, basically. Like, you're using these clues to power things up, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
So that works.
That was my question about it, because we haven't really seen a ton of play with that before, right?
Oh, Nick says you can spend the clues on her assets. Okay, so you're just banking them. You're popping them there.
Interesting.
All right, well, you heard it here.
Yeah.
Insta ruling.
Yeah. How about that? Okay, so that's kind of eliminates one of the downsides there. It's really just setting this up, which doesn't seem too difficult. It's just a free trigger to move a clue to a science or tool asset.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah, okay. Anti-Markovnikov points out that you're just putting them at risk of potentially being discarded.
Sure.
Which, I don't think it's a very high risk. I mean, unless you're going to throw it on a throwaway ally that's definitely going away, I don't think there's too much risk, because even if you're playing a scenario that's got like Crypt Chill or something like that, you're going to have other things that you don't move the clues to.
Just watch. We're going to see encounter cards that say something like, discard all assets with clues on them.
Oh, no. Well, surely
Don't
her
do it,
weakness
Nick. Don't
does
do it.
something like that. Do we have her weakness in here? Probably not.
I don't believe so.
No.
I do appreciate getting a 4 intellect, 4 agility seeker. Sounds good to me.
Let's see, she's going to be good for solo, I assume.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with those events. I mean, those are like both enemy management, which will help. Let's keep it trucking along. We also got this nice little chemistry set, if you want to read that one, Justin.
Oh, sorry, my computer's slow. Chemistry set?
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah, it is a 2-cost asset. It has 1 intellect icon on it. Item, tool, and science traded. And then action, exhaust chemistry set, investigate. If you, and then there are 4 options here. So if you fail by exactly 2, discard chemistry set. If you succeed by exactly 0, gain 2 resources. If you succeed by exactly 2, draw 1 card. If you succeed by exactly 4, discover 1 additional clue at your location. And it takes up the accessory slot.
Interesting.
That requires more precision than I like to play with.
Right. You can't exactly control what you're going to get out of it, but you're going to get something good, usually.
I mean, that's kind of
seems
fun.
like something I would use in real life, but in my game time.
I mean, that is kind of an interesting. It adds a little sub game to making it feel like an experiment, right? Like you're trying to get a
Yeah.
certain reaction or testing things out. Also, point of interest if you're putting clues on this that it's got its own discard ability. So there's that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I do also, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, but it has risk built in with the fail by exactly 2.
Yeah.
Discard it. Boy, I wonder if there's a card that would benefit from something like that
Can't think of one.
down the, like something that has been previously released but may need to be revisited when the designers are looking at it again.
They have it in them. I believe in them.
Mm-hmm.
What's this other thing?
Yeah, this is a fun card. Sean, why don't you read this one?
Yeah, so we've got a level 0 asset. It is the Ravenous Myconid, unidentified. It has an agility icon, creature, monster, flora, science traded. This is the Little Shop of Horrors card.
My.
Limit 1 per deck. Action. Search your bonded cards for uncanny growth and add it to your hand. Action. If Ravenous Myconid has 3 or more growth on it, move each growth to your resource pool as resources and record in your campaign log. You have classified a new species. Seymour.
Suppose we should
We'll
read
say, does that
Uncanny
on the
Growth.
wall? And on the wall behind that in the art, does it say "feed me"?
Does it?
No. No.
We're doing Little Shop of Horrors.
It should.
Did we get uncanny growth?
We did.
Okay.
We did.
Yeah.
I need to just click into the little thing that gives you the
Yeah.
next button.
I forgot how many cards they included in this announcement. There's a ton in here.
Oh, damn. Okay. So uncanny growth is the bonded event. It is 1 cost. It is insight and science traded. It is obviously bonded with the Ravenous Myconid. Investigate. After this test resolves, place 1 resource on Ravenous Myconid as growth for each point you succeed by. Set uncanny growth aside out of play. If you fail, return uncanny growth to your hand. Okay, so like later, I assume we're going to get other versions, right? This is the secret thing where it's identified, researched, right?
Mm-hmm.
So presumably other versions of this will do different things with those growth tokens.
Yeah, because it seems like it's one of those. I forgot what this class of cards is called. Is there a name for basically the seeker stuff where you have to do something to unlock the higher level versions?
Yeah, they've used the researched keyword in the past. I'm curious why they didn't do it here.
Yeah. So I imagine there'll be some XP versions of this that are like the identified versions. But
Oh man, I really hope the art is different. That'd be so sick.
I know. I think it's cool that this is one that's not like researching a tome or identifying a solution. This is like feeding a strange monster, which you don't know what it does, which seems like a wise choice, I guess.
Chad is correcting us here that the researched keyword only shows up on the leveled up versions. Which makes sense because that means the keyword means like you can't take this unless blah 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 blah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So another card that we had spoiled here is another science related card, which is not too surprising. Microscope, which I'll read this one. Seeker card, of course, 2 cost, level 0 asset, intellect icon, item, tool, science traits, all stuff that Kate likes. Reaction: after an enemy at your location is successfully evaded or defeated, exhaust microscope, place 1 resource on microscope as evidence. Double action: investigate. You get +1 intellect for this investigation for each evidence on microscope, max +3. If you succeed, you may spend up to 2 evidence to discover that many additional clues at your location.
Ooh,
Ooh,
that's sexy at level 0.
yeah.
Magnify me, daddy.
So at full power, You're rocking +3 intellect, and you could spend 2. You're discovering 3 clues. Oof. Yeah.
It's pretty solid. And, you know, in Kate, who seems like she might evade a thing or two, you know, you can feed this yourself, but even outside of Kate, if you're playing multiplayer, just being the clover, there's gonna be enemies that get evaded or defeated at your location. It's just gonna happen just by virtue of being around.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this and pickpocketing Trish, that's hot.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is. Oof. Okay, yeah. I predict this card will get a lot of love. I know, that's 0 boldness points, but...
Yeah, boy, they sure don't seem afraid to give Seeker really flashy, fun cards.
I love how the rest of this episode will just be subtle shade.
I'm trying to make
not
it
so
not so
subtle.
subtle.
Yeah. Subtle's doing a lot of work there.
It's just a note that you can only see under the microscope that says "screw you guys."
Just the double middles. All right. We have Dr. Charles West. Justin, you want to read this? Seeker ally.
Yes. So, Dr. Charles West the Third, level 0, 3 cost, has intellect and combat icon. He is an ally and science traded. You have 1 additional hand slot, which can only be used to hold a tool asset. Reaction: after you successfully investigate by exactly 1 or 3, exhaust Dr. Charles West III, deal 1 damage to an enemy at your location. 1 health, 2 sanity.
It's giving Luxley, right?
Mm-hmm. With this, similar to what we saw with Chemistry Set, with this focus on like succeeding by a certain exact amount.
It's interesting to think about, like, you know, in the same way that Luxley's kind of in a weird spot. Like, the idea that you would want to do damage to an enemy, but you have to investigate to do it, which normally an enemy will punish you for doing if that enemy's engaged with you anyway. Like, it kind of puts it in a weird spot. This is actually going to be really good. Really, really good in the Scarlet Keys expansion, very specifically. But it's kind of weird, right? Isn't that timing just odd? I guess you could evade.
I was going to say, doesn't this seem like it's set up, though, to work with
Boy, it sure
Kate's
does.
evasion?
Boy, it sure does.
You evade, and then you have something like microscope or something else set up. You do the investigate or something else where you want to succeed by the same numbers, depending on what the other cards are. And so it's basically, it seems like she is set up to do more with combo work.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know how you explain the timing.
Well, and it seems like Kate is going to want a kit full of science-y things. So, you know, as compared to Luxley, where she just gives you a solid stat boost. That extra tool slot, I imagine, at level 0 is going to be pretty clutch.
It'll be interesting to see what other cards we get that play with this, like, in Seeker, succeed by exactly whatever, which seems like a theme. Because usually, at least the way I play Seeker, someone who doesn't play Seeker a lot, is just, like, pump up your stats and throw, like, 1 billion intellect, and usually you're, like, up by, like, 7 on a investigate, you know? And that's usually how you play Seeker. You just, like, pump big numbers and just succeed every investigate unless you auto fail. But these cards are like, wait a minute, like, if you want this cool stuff, you can't just, like, throw, like, put as high a number as you can and pass that way.
You know, she keeps coming up, but I feel like there's a reason. This is pretty good in Trish too.
Yeah.
So, important note here. I can't look at this art without seeing David Cross. And so
Charles
for
West
anyone
the Third. There are dozens of us. Dozens.
Yeah. The actor who plays Tobias Funke in Arrested Development, for anyone who didn't immediately place the name, but he's angry and wild eyes, and it's him. It's just not up for debate.
Like, and the art is like bordering on photorealistic. Like, it's the shine on that man's dome really sells it. Like, good job, Colin Boyer. You did it.
Well, now I'm not gonna see that.
You're welcome.
Now I want the alt art version where it's just Tobias crying in the shower, and that'll be my alt art version of this card.
Rubbing conditioner on his bald head. It's such a sad scene.
I don't remember where we were in rotation. I think it was Sean.
Sure.
This is a card that I didn't experience a ton of while I was in college, which is being well funded.
Yeah. So well funded is level 0 skill. It has a wild icon, and it is fortune traded. So sorry, Rex. Can't do it. While you control a science or tool asset, well funded gains an additional wild icon. While you control 3 or more science and or tools, 2 additional icons instead. Every cent of that research grant counts. That's interesting. I mean, it's cool. Like it would go in like a similar slot to like Inquiring Mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
A little less condition, a little bit more controllable, the condition anyway.
Like most Seekers, you're probably playing at least a tool most of the time, so it's going to be like an Unexpected Courage at least most of the time, with a little bit more upside.
Yeah.
So,
I like it.
I think it, like, as a Seeker, like, would this just straight up replace Unexpected Courage if you're thinking about Unexpected Courage?
I think so. Like, as long as obviously you're building for the traits, like you're gonna get one down probably pretty quickly.
Yep.
And then you're at parity. It's only up from here. Yeah.
So
what? Okay. So actually, kind of interesting question. What is your current like? So you know how like you'll include those skill cards to be like, all right, occasionally I'll just need to like juice a random test, and I need a thing for that. Right. And that's kind of what Unexpected Courage often is. Like, that's why I include like Take the Initiative is another one that I look at. What do you normally take in Seeker right now that kind of fills that purpose?
I guess Inquiring Mind still, although that's a little bit more conditional.
Yeah, me too.
You know, one of the tricky things about Inquiring Mind is like a lot of times as a Seeker, the thing I need to juice is not necessarily an Investigate, but like, oh no, there's an enemy, like let me evade or something.
Yeah. It's usually like willpower or agility.
Yeah, which a lot of times happen after the clues already like peeled off the location. So, but it's, yeah, most of the time that's still kind of the one that I take for that purpose.
Interesting. Let's move. Oh, hey, the next one. Yeah, okay, we were talking about it.
Yeah, so it turns out they did include Kate's weakness. They just put it at the end of the little card scroll here.
I said this when someone shared the image in chat, but like she looks like Edna Mode from The Incredibles in this art.
So failed experiment, blunder, revelation, test will 3. This test gets +1 difficulty for each asset you control with a clue on it. And no cap on that, by the way. For each point you fail by, you must either take 1 horror or place 1 of your clues on your location. I've made a huge mistake. This is the night for Arrested Development references, I guess.
Nick had our back however long ago. I promised you that was a Nick inclusion. And
this one also needs an all art card.
Just yep, there it is. The Job staring into the middle distance. That's what it is.
This one could potentially get pretty nasty.
Yeah, I mean, the worst case scenario is you lose your clues, right?
Yeah.
which, you'd never want to do, but at least this isn't like a killing blow like, say, Harvey's can be, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, this isn't going to wipe you out. You always have the option to just, like, drop your clues instead.
Yeah, and you test it, which is interesting. Probably will draw an auto fail like 80% of the time.
Oh, yeah, Gnarls Apprentice. Base will, too, on Kate specifically, I suppose. This,
Mm-hmm.
it makes it a little scarier.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to play with that one.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't
we
seem
do-
crippling, but there's going to be some, like, bad moments, like, where this comes up the wrong turn. Like, you're about to advance.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't seem as bad as some other investigators' weaknesses, I'll say that much.
Yes.
But we shall see, I guess. They were kind enough to spoil another investigator. And since Justin read the last one, I'll let you read this one, Sean. Since Scott's not here as our survivor.
So we've got Hank Sampson, the farmhand. I don't know why I gave him a bad Southern accent, but there it is. So he's
You're locked in. You're committed now. You stick with it through the card.
He's got 3 willpower, 1 intellect, 5 combat, and 3 agility. No, I'm not going to do the whole card. I'm so sorry. He's got assistant and warden traits. You may be assigned damage or horror dealt to ally assets or other investigators at your location. Reaction: when you would be defeated by damage and or horror, instead heal all of your damage and horror and swap this card with its bonded resolute version, either side face up. His Elder Sign effect is +1. And he has 5 health and 5 sanity. So, I mean, that's a mark level stat spread almost. So we love that for killing enemies. Being able to just like soak the first 10 up to like the first 10 damage and or horror that happens at your location. That's really cool. This kind of feels like a survivor a little bit, doesn't he?
Yeah, strange that.
So we get Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's just a total aside, but I was talking with some friends recently. We were reminiscing about Aqua Teen Hunger Force. So for some reason, when you were reading that card, I was imagining your voice slowly transitioning into the Jiggle Billy voice for anyone who remembers that character.
Wow.
All right.
I feel like I was close and more at threat of becoming like Dale Gribble from King of the Hill.
Yeah. You were much closer to that, but Jiggle Billy was foremost in my mind. So that's where my mind went to.
Well, I'm so sorry for anyone out there for whom I've ruined Hank's in-game voice. It will probably be the one I do. Anyway, so once his first form, this investigator has different forms like a boss. So after his first form gets iced, you can either go to assistant mode or warden mode. Okay, yeah, so the 2 traits he has on the first side, so it splits up. Okay, so assistant mode now has different stat lines. So we've got 3 willpower, 3 intellect, 4 combat, 4 agility. Cannot be healed. You may still be assigned damage or horror dealt to ally assets or other investigators at your location. Reaction: when 1 or more horror is placed on you, draw a card. Elder Sign effect +1, move 1 horror from Hank Sampson to an asset you control. And we have 4 health and 6 sanity on this side. And then the warden side, this stat line is hot. This is hot. We got 4 willpower, 1 intellect, 6 printed combat, and 3 agility. You cannot be healed. You may be assigned damage or horror. Same thing. Reaction: when one or more damage is placed on you, gain 2 resources. Elder Sign effect: +1, move 1 damage from Hank to an asset you control. And then on this side, of course, we've got the flip. We've got 6 health and 4 sanity.
It's such a cool design.
It's a really cool design, and the templating is cool too. Like they yellow the parchment, I think, is what's behind the templating in Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got blood splatters all over it on the resolute sides.
Yeah.
So cool.
And so you're really just trying to constantly balance here when it is time, basically, to level him up.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you do, he's better skill-wise and stat-wise, but then you have a finite amount of health and sanity, right?
Yeah.
Like that seems like the shtick.
Yeah, it gets potentially dicey at the end because it looks like the only way to hit the pressure valve on damage or horror is to draw an Elder Sign, which, it's so easy to do that when you need it.
Yeah,
That's
the
really
interesting thing is with Survivor, you have so many soaks that it feels like you should be able to protect him pretty well. And then you kind of just like build up that rig, and then just pick the right time to do the transformation to his other form.
Oh, and then I looked ahead at the next card, so this also helps.
Mm-hmm.
So I can just take this. I can take Stout-Hearted.
Yep, go for it.
All right, so Stout-Hearted, 2-cost event. We have a willpower icon, a combat icon, and a wild icon. Hank Samson deck only. Fast. Play when you engage a non-elite enemy. Move up to 2 damage and or horror from Hank Samson to that enemy as damage. So it's move as opposed to heal. So, okay.
Similar to the home front, as I recall.
Yeah. The nice thing about this one is you don't even have to nail a test. You just move it.
Oh no, the King Julian gif. Oh no. Ian, okay.
Uh-huh.
I think your kids are too young for you to have been tortured with Madagascar, am I correct?
Yeah, you are correct.
Oh man, you dodged a bullet there, man.
Yeah.
It was very cute the first 2 times. Anyway. Ian, you want to do the weakness?
Yeah. So Hank's weakness is where's Pa? This weakness has a flaw trait. Revelation: discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until an enemy is discarded. Attach where's Pa to that enemy and spawn it at a connecting location if able. Attached enemy gains elusive. Forced at the end of the round, Hank Samson takes 1 direct horror.
I'm sorry, what? Elusive?
Elusive?
The fuck does that mean?
I know, I was just going through reading it and... Huh? Like, I think my brain translated that to aloof.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That's what this kind of card would usually do.
Mm-hmm.
But what is aloof?
Yeah, I was like, are we playing Keyforge?
Oh, maybe it's the same effect, like the first attack against it each round fizzles.
Yeah.
That is what that does.
Interesting.
The
The nice thing is it spawns at
Anti-hunter.
a connecting location as opposed to some of the weaknesses that spawn them across the whole map.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
But
yeah, I guess
or,
it
yeah,
depends on
maybe elusive makes it run away from you, so like
a
it doesn't
reverse
spawn
hunter?
far away, but it'll get there.
Yeah, maybe it's like a reverse hunter where it runs away from you potentially.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, so Hank does come with some toys, of course. I think we're back to Sean on this pitchfork.
Grab your pitchforks, boys. It's a level 0 survivor asset. It is 3 cost. It has a combat and agility icon. It has item, tool, weapon, and melee traits. action fight. You get +1 combat and deal +2 damage for this attack. If this attack is successful, lose control of Pitchfork and attach it to your location. Your location gains action take control of Pitchfork. Any investigator at Pitchfork's location may trigger this ability. And it takes 2 hand slots, which is pretty... That at level 0, I'm sitting here going like, damn, +1 and +2 damage? What the fuck? Like, okay, and you just have to like get it back. Okay, 2 hand slots though. That makes sense. That's cool. Like, you hit hard enough and it just like sticks in the ground and anyone can grab it, right?
Yeah. I love the design of it. Just it's obviously like action intensive, but I'm trying to think
and it would depend on how much you already have in your hands, right? But correct me if I'm wrong, but I jumped to hey, we have something, we're near the end, we're pushing the doom clock, and we have to kill this thing. If you're in multiplayer and have like 3 people at the location, could you have one person do the fight? It drops. The next person does one thing, picks it up, hits with Pitchfork. The next person does something, picks up, hits with Pitchfork, and then that's what, 9 damage?
Yeah, that sounds fun.
It's not necessarily the most efficient way to get there, but depending on what you need to do.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like a lot of times with weapons like this, like that extra bit where you get like the +2 damage and it like sticks in the ground and you lose control of it, that's like an optional extra bit. But like it's the only way to fight with the Pitchfork. So like you can see a lot of situations where you'll like punch for the first action and just do like a straight fight on like a 4 health enemy and then finish it off. I don't know. It's cool. It lets you get rid of the enemy in a big pinch, and it's a little bit action intensive to keep it as an ongoing weapon. I think this is really cool at level 0.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, like given the level and the amount of damage you're doing. But I think that's where my mind went to, Justin, originally, is like trying to think of the weird situations where everyone gets a turn with a pitchfork.
Like, or once you know a scenario well enough, it's okay. I fought something here, and now I've gone through this portal over here, and then I know I will need this pitchfork back here. So in the meantime, I'll put other things in my hands, and
yeah, like, or those scenarios where there's like a hub location, you just kind of leave the pitchfork there for someone to pick up.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's Justin, like you said, it's gonna get that scene built in where like everyone's ganging up on the one enemy. It's like a Persona all-out attack, if you will.
Mm-hmm. That use case might be a long shot. Justin, you want to read the next one?
I will absolutely read long shot, even though it has nothing to do with the X-Men.
Aw. We're not in Mojoverse either.
Yeah. All right. Long shot. It is practiced. You may commit long shot to a fight or evasion test against an enemy at your location or a connecting location. If this test is successful, deal 1 damage to that enemy. Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of like shitty vicious blow.
Yeah, you don't get an icon, but
this can be committed to. It can be committed to any skill, though, which is really cool. Which is not something Vicious Blow has going for it.
Yeah, and it's more flexible. It could be a fight or evasion, and it could be at a connecting location.
I like it.
And you're playing Survivor, and so possibly looping it back a couple times. So picking up the brick that it shows in the art and just, oh, hey, I found another brick.
Oh, my God. This is going to be so fucking fun in Silas, you guys. Silas gets Vicious Blow now. Silas gets Vicious Blow, you guys. It's going to be so good.
And as you get more
it's-
players, you get more targets. So like 3-4 player game as a survivor, I'm probably gonna be looking at this a lot.
Mm-hmm. And the art is sick.
Mm-hmm.
Brick.
Much like the runtime of this episode, this next card is pushed to the limit.
Hey, remember when we thought we'd get fucking caught up, you guys? Remember how naive we were 3 hours ago?
It's all an illusion. Catching up as an adult is just an illusion in every
It's true.
aspect.
It's true. It's the carrot at the end of the stick that's tied to your head.
Yes. Yes. I will breeze past that existential angst and read this card. It is a Survivor level 0 event, 2 cost. Will and combat icons, tactic and improvised traits. Choose a weapon or tool asset in your discard pile. Resolve an action ability on that asset, ignoring all cost, including its action cost. After this effect resolves, shuffle the chosen asset into your deck. And finally, playing this card does not provoke attacks of opportunity.
So improvised, doing cool things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's interesting because a lot of the improvised, I think all the improvised stuff we have so far, correct me if I'm wrong, plays from your discard pile, whereas this plays something else from your discard pile. I suppose this is tactic as well. That's what's keeping it. That's what's keeping it off of the standard. So Mark can take this. And he very well might be like one of the better options for this, considering how many cards he draws.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's doing a few things at once. Like, obviously, you get that action ability, whatever it is, probably going to be like a fight ability on a weapon or something. But then you get it back. You get it back into your deck, which not guaranteed that you'll get it back, but you get another chance at it.
After this effect resolves. Yeah, no, you get it back no matter what. Like, that's cool.
Yeah,
for some reason,
yeah.
I heard what you read, but for
Mhm.
some reason my brain was like, if this attack is successful or if this defeats an enemy, like one of those two. Right?
Yeah,
But this
it
just happens.
straight up does it. Yeah.
That's cool. So if nothing else, this is cool for like recurring important big weapons that have uses, right?
Mhm.
Like this gives a little up to your firearms.
Yep, for sure.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's just another tool in that kind of recursion, kind of play with your discard pile type. Won't probably use it in every deck, but definitely seems useful.
And I like these kind of one-off option events to just squeak out just that little bit extra damage, just like that extra trick you need sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you're targeting a bit, like imagine hitting this with like lightning gun in like Tommy, right? Because it doesn't have to be level 0, it doesn't have to be certain hands like sleight of hand. This is just boom, you get the ability.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
That brings us to the next one. Sean, why don't you read Sparrow Mask?
The Sparrow Mask, the Wanderer's Companion, is a level 0 survivor asset. It costs 1. It has a willpower and an agility icon. It has item, charm, and mask traits. Ooh, hey, Amina can take this. Go, Amina. Limit 1 mask per investigator. Ooh, we're going to get a series of masks. That's fun. Oh, I'm all about that.
Mm-hmm.
Uses 2 offerings. Replenish one of these offerings after you take 1 or more damage and or horror. And then a free triggered ability, spend 1 offering. You get +2 willpower or +2 agility for this skill test once per test. Oh, that's juicy. So I assume then that each class is going to get a different stat spread and a different trigger as to like what puts offerings back on it, right?
Sure.
Like that's got to be the way we go. I mean, assuming that like all of them do offerings, I guess.
Yeah. It probably seems to kind of tie into the theme of the campaign.
And I only suspect this because of a special preview that Nick dropped into our Discord earlier this week.
Sure.
Yeah.
This seems good. I mean, it turns out that taking damage and or horror is something you do quite often in Arkham Horror, the card game. So,
Huh? And like for Hank in particular,
yeah.
he does a lot of that shit.
Yep.
Now, does the word replenish mean what I think it does? Does that mean you can't go above the number of uses listed on the card? Because replenish means like it has to have been empty first, more or less.
That's how I read it. Is because I was thinking about this earlier today, and I was trying to decide whether I was going crazy or not. But is replenish something that we've seen before?
It's a good question.
I don't remember. Maybe it's used in like a billion things, and that's a dumb question, but yeah.
I mean, it makes sense though. Like you want to be able to kind of like keep these things under control, especially at level 0, right? Like you don't want to be able to do the Bangle of Jinx's situation in a swarm campaign.
Yeah. Oh, in chat they're mentioning Runic Axe uses replenish. That's right.
Okay.
That sounds familiar.
Very good. Very good.
Yep.
Oh, Ghastly Possession. Yep, totally. That replenishes like a charge or a secret, I think.
So a question on this card as I'm looking at it, and it might just be the file or even my screen. Is the templating around the agility icon a different color?
It is a different color. It looks gold.
Huh.
That may mean nothing. That may just be a thing I never notice on cards, but
No, I totally did
the
not
other
notice
asset,
that.
the pitchfork doesn't have that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Is that just I don't know.
Oh, you know what I bet it is? And this is pure speculation. I know nothing. But I bet that because this is a card that has the templating with the subtitle, there was something different about the way the icons populate. So like Pitchfork does not have a subtitle, so that one's unaffected by whatever that is. Or maybe it's intentional, I don't know.
Interesting. So many mysteries. Okay, next card, which could also be the title for my autobiography, Wrong Place, Right Time. Why don't you read this one, Justin?
all right. Wrong place, right time. Level 0, 0 cost event. Willpower icon, agility icon, wild icon. Traits are spirit and double. As an additional cost to play Wrong Place, Right Time, spend an action. Move up to 5 damage and or horror from your investigator to assets controlled by investigators at your location. For each asset defeated by this effect, draw 1 card. Remove Wrong Place, Right Time from the game.
Interesting. Okay, so I'm just trying to think of like assets that give you a cool benefit when they die. We've got Brother Xavier and
Brother X, yeah.
and Tetsuo.
Yeah. I mean, Tommy gets his benefits from assets being defeated.
Ooh, yeah, this is a good Tommy card for sure. Because you draw cards and get resources. Oh, this is a good Tommy card. I like this.
Yeah, it is.
Tommy needs a card like this desperately.
Move up to from your investigator. Okay, so it has to be your investigator specifically, but it's also just a good panic button if you're on the verge of dying from a bunch of direct damage or horror or something.
True. Yeah, you can just offload to someone who's got space. Like that is definitely a pretty common occurrence at multiplayer where like the encounter deck has just decided, oh no, you're the only one who's going to draw Rotting Remains this game. Sorry.
Yep.
That's a nice evener. I do like that they're bringing back doubles, which is an old Netrunner thing, and that's just the trait that you have to spend an extra action. We had one of those in Scarlet Keys, I think, was one of the first ones, if I'm remembering correctly.
All right, and our next card, our final card, really, because the last one is a story asset, it looks like. This is art you've seen on a playmat. This is the famous Patrice playing violin to a monster art. This is Stall for Time, a Survivor event, 1 cost, level 0. Willpower and intellect icons. It's a tactic. It's a trick. Parlay action. Choose an enemy at your location. Test will X, where X is the chosen enemy's fight or evade value, whichever is lower. If you succeed, exhaust the chosen enemy, but do not disengage from it. If it is non-elite, it is not ready during the next upkeep phase. If you fail, return Stall for Time to your hand.
Oh, that's fun.
Kind of does
so
what it
cool.
says on the tin. It stalls for time.
That hits a thematic nerve. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like literally just, okay, one turn. I just need to do this thing. It's just like just shh.
Yeah. I mean, I've especially appreciate that in solo. There's been a lot of times where I'm just like, just give me some breathing room. Where I would appreciate a card like this for sure. And it's nice that it's whichever value is lower between its fight or evade.
And if you fail, like you potentially get another shot. That's pretty great.
There's a lot to like there. And it's a parlay, so if you got your fine closed, then
true,
drop that test even lower.
This is kind of like Cower on a stick.
Yeah. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Cool. Did we want to read the story asset or just leave that for discovery?
Yeah, I mean, it's in the fan. Let's just read it real quick.
Okay.
It's not like we can tell much.
Yeah, I think we're back to you, Sean.
Okay. We have a Dr. Rosa Marquez, best in her field. And what a pretty field it looks like. So she is 4-cost asset. She has an intellect, an agility, and a wild icon. She has ally, miskatonic, and wayfarer traits. While you control Dr. Rosa Marquez, you get +1 intellect and +1 agility. Reaction: after you discover the last clue at your location, something symbol theta. And that's all I got. And then she's got 2 health, 2 sanity, and takes up the ally slot. I assume this is something scenario related?
Yeah.
Like the scenario will tell you what that means?
I assume so.
Presumably.
Wouldn't it be a trip if it didn't?
Figure it out.
As allies go, she seems pretty okay.
Yeah. And I think they include her in this article just as kind of a sample of the many, many NPCs we'll meet. In an article, there's a fan of 9 different NPCs in addition to this one. So big cast of characters, and they mention this relationship level that we talked about earlier. So I'm stoked for that. It's kind of similar to Edge, where we had the different companions.
Yeah,
but this
partnered
feels
a
like
little bit.
maybe a enhancement of that, where it's going to be even more of a focus.
Yeah.
And the final thing worth mentioning is there's this day and night mechanic, but they have this day and night art for day 1 and night 1 that they show off in the article, and I love this art style.
It's so cool.
It just hits the theme of what they're going for so well. It's amazing.
Yeah. Do we know? Well, I mean, we don't know. I assume these are standard card size, but that's really cool. What is this art style? Like lithograph? Is that what that is?
I'm not
Am
sure
I remembering that?
offhand. Maybe someone in chat will know. But yeah, it gives that creepy feel for sure.
Yeah, okay. I guess that's just a method of printing. Yeah, it's like medieval. I don't know. It's cool art. It just vibes with what they're doing so well.
Yeah.
I agree.
So-
However, Ian, we do still have the card that Nick revealed in our Discord, which we might as well share with the people.
You're right. Yeah. I think we were on just. Well, it is purple, so I guess Sean, you should technically read this.
I think you have to let Sean do this.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I am hoping for some fun purple toys.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we've got Wicked Athame, or Athame. It's Athame, right? I know
That's
this
how I
isn't the
say it.
first time we've had to talk about it, but
Hey, just say it with confidence, baby.
there we go.
Yep.
Wicked Athame, Cursed Blade, is a level 0 mystic asset. It is 2 cost. It has a combat icon. It has item, weapon, melee, and cursed traits. Action: add 1 to 3 curse tokens to the chaos bag. Fight: you get +2 combat for this attack for each curse token added as part of this action's cost. If this attack defeats an enemy, replenish 1 charge or offering on an asset you control, and it takes up a single hand slot. This is what I was talking about earlier, where like offering was like very clearly. And as far as ceremonial sacrificial blades go, this is definitely the most thematic one we have so far. This also confirms that we are, it seems, gonna see Cursed and Bless again, and that's very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed that mechanic, and it always seemed unfair that it would only ever get 1 cycle's worth of development. So I'm really glad we're seeing it again.
Agreed. Now, we have these cards that play off the curse and bless tokens. Previously, we only got those in the Innsmouth, is that right? Or have
Correct.
we gotten any outside of that?
Nope. Innsmouth only.
So I'm wondering if they're gonna are they gonna give us more curse tokens in the box?
Yeah,
Like,
they'd
what if
have to.
What if someone is just buying Hemlock and they don't have Innsmouth?
Yeah, they'd have to.
Yeah.
Like we are definitely all in, because if you included it all, you've got to, at least with their current product model, you've got to provide the players those tokens, because
Right.
presumably they might only have the core set beyond that.
Interesting. So I'll have another set to do something creative with, I guess. Yeah.
Now, as far as this weapon goes, it's interesting. You can really juice your skill for the combat. You know, obviously, you can potentially get a +6 to your skill. By default, you're only doing 1 damage, which hurts, honestly. Like that's honestly what hurts a lot of weapons, is just low damage output or inconsistent damage output. However, if you land the killing blow with this thing, getting to recharge a charge or an offering seems pretty good. Like, this can be your offhand weapon for your, I don't know, shriveling or something.
Yeah, it's definitely doesn't seem like a primary weapon because of that, but yeah, it's probably, since you're a mystic, you have a hand slot free, and this is what you use to do like the odd damage basically, and kill off the enemy, and then put the charge back on your spells.
Yeah.
And if you're playing with curses, this is just a really easy way to throw curses in there.
Yes, it is.
You can curse it up as much as you want.
The I imagine this will combo well with like Armageddon, right? I would assume.
Yeah, seems like it.
I'm digging it. I don't know, 2 cost single hand slot in a class that, like, the hand slots, I mean, still to this day, they're not normally like largely contentious. There's options, but a hand slot's not like I need that for a lot of builds.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, love it. And very excited to see the return of Blurs. Let's go.
Yeah, me too. So that's Hemlock Vale. I am very excited for this one.
Whew. So excited. We did the article give us anything more as far as release goes? January and February release. So I assume, per usual, we'll get the Investigator expansion first in January then.
Yeah, that seems a lot more specific than we usually get in these kinds of articles.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, I think it's the first of the new model sets that we've got 100% post-pandemic.
True.
Sure.
Supply chain
Sure.
back up and running. So I think that's probably why they're able to finally do that.
That makes sense. Before, I think even for FFG, it's like roll some dice and who knows, figure out when it's actually going to arrive.
Yeah.
Throw some bones in a bowl.
Yep. So that's actually
Regardless
not too
of when
far
it comes-
away. A couple more months.
No. It's going to be here
Yeah.
right quick.
Regardless of when it comes out, Sean, we're gonna do a face check Iron Man of this one again, right?
Yeah, of course. We must.
Yeah.
We must. Especially because
that
it's
has-
coming out at like the best time of year to take a day off for such a thing.
Yeah, that has been a fun tradition the last 2 years.
Some release day nonsense. Yeah, we'll have to figure out something we can do once we have an actual release date and we know what we can gear off of.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, that's so very exciting. It's not the worst thing in the world that we've had this pause, just very selfishly because, we kind of took months off and it just kind of worked out for us. But I think by the time the new year turns over, I'm going to be hungry for some new Arkham.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very, very excited about this. And I'm very, very excited about the Investigator that we'll get to spoil at the end of October. So if you haven't already, go follow our Twitch channel where we'll be doing it there. And I don't know, maybe we'll rip the audio off that and put it out on the RSS as a new episode. But still go check out our Twitch. Because we're doing...
It's best when it's fresh if you can be there.
That's
Day
right.
of.
That's right. Come live. Let's do it. Boys, this became a behemoth. I don't know what we were thinking to think that we could get to the parallels as well. And this is like, astute listeners will have noticed that Scott slipped away to go handle his family obligations. That's only with the reduced crew. We were only able to get to the two big things in 3 hours. Nothing's changed.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to let's punt those parallels, and we'll have another one to talk about too, with them and the blob stuff to next time.
True. Yep. Yeah, we'll be able to just knock them all out at once. I dig it. All right, boys. Do we just want to take like 30 seconds for tentacle time before we wrap this up?
Sure.
Justin, what's grabbing you?
I am just playing a little more Dying Light, getting ready to play different PlayStation games when our Monday night game group reconvenes in November. But I'd never played the expansion that is set in the countryside as opposed to the city. And I think I prefer the city, so the core game part of it, which, as you know, I love. But just playing through this, and it's kind of fun. Nice little distraction.
Nice. Ian, how about you?
Continuing to play Baldur's Gate 3, getting towards the end. I'm in Act 3. There's a few other things, but the most recent thing is watching through the Fall of the House of Usher series on Netflix, which is the new Flanagan series. He's the one who did Hill House and Bly Manor and some of the other shows, but really enjoying it so far. It's an adaptation of like a lot of different Poe stories. I thought it was just going to be Fall of the House of Usher, but like each episode is kind of a take on a different Edgar Allan Poe story, which is really cool because I love Poe.
That is cool.
Actually like Poe more than Lovecraft, so I'm enjoying it.
Spicy.
Yeah.
Well, so did Lovecraft, so you're good.
Fair.
Awesome. I didn't realize that. Yeah, because like it seemed weird to me because Fall of the House of Usher is not a long story.
Nope.
Do we get a cask of Amontillado? That is the Poe story that haunted me the hardest the first time I read it. That and Telltale Heart.
I'm halfway through. I'm not sure. But yeah, each episode is like titled after a different story. So if you're familiar with the stories, you kind of know a little bit of what's coming up.
Ooh, awesome. Nick confirms. Yeah, it's the penultimate episode.
Oh, cool.
Damn, I'm going to have to watch this series.
It's good. I recommend
I'm like a
it.
fake Poe fan, but I have read a lot of the stories.
Like my personal email, Raven is included in it. Like we read the Raven in freshman year high school, which is also when I got my email that I still use to this day. And I'm like this freshman kid, just like mind blown. Like I'm all about the Raven. So yeah.
You could do worse for spirit animals, I guess.
Yes.
For my part, I've been like really, really listless the past little while as far as like what video game I'm actually trying to focus on. It's been a shit show. I've downloaded and played like the first half hour of like a dozen games. But one that did actually kind of recapture me was I realized that the Spider-Man 2, PS4, well, the sequel to the PS4 Spider-Man on the Sony side is coming out this night at midnight. And I realized that about a week ago, and I'm like, oh, damn, I'm so excited. So I popped Miles Morales back in and have been playing through that. And it's perfect little amuse-bouche. It's a nice short game compared to the original Spider-Man, but very, very excited. Also very excited that I've got it on pre-order. It's going to download to my system at midnight tonight, and I'm leaving for the weekend tomorrow at noon. So, like, I got all hyped about this, and I forgot that I was just occupied all weekend. So, I'm just going to get to, like, Sunday. It'll be there on Sunday.
Sean, make sure that of the other things you've downloaded after you get through more Spider-Man, make sure you do play Inscription. I forget if we've talked about that on here or just otherwise, but
you are not the only one to tell me I need to play it. I was talking to
crap, is it good?
I was talking to Frank at least, and I believe Peter gave it an up as well. And just a bunch of other card game players are like, yeah, you need to like the apparently the just like progression of that game is an experience.
It is, and then they've added a challenge mode to it after you beat it, so you can go back and play parts of it again. That's not a spoiler, just is.
Sure.
But then you can add modifiers, and it's a very like Hades-esque experience within the card game, and it scratches so many itches, and I felt the same pride. I wasn't gonna chase trophies, but then I had like one left on it, and of course it's the hardest one. And so then
I wasn't gonna chase it, but it's right there.
Yeah. Then when I capped it and got the platinum on it, I felt the same, or at least close sense of pride to when I got it for Bloodborne.
Ooh, that's high praise.
So, yes, McDog is asking in chat all challenges. Yes, I did the all challenges mode.
Wow.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, no, that is definitely on my radar. I probably should have like fired that up, but my listlessness really only like, I don't know. I was in that mode where like I didn't want to start anything new. Everything I tried was like a sequel or something I had already played. But yeah, no, I'm gonna get around to that one. All right. Well, I think that's long enough for y'all to listen to us talk. Thank you for joining us for episode 159 of Mythos Busters. Join us at the end of the month on our Twitch, and we'll see you guys for November.
Bye.